Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Cheryl Dunn, and I'm working with Ark of God Canada, and we're broadcasting and we're doing interviews of testimonies of people around the world. And we are actually going to go through the different countries and different places, giving testimonies about how great God is. And we need revival in this country. The whole purpose of it is for you to understand about how great God is. In a world that is dying, in a world that there's so much going on, we need something to hold on to. So deep in that heart of yours, it's kind of like looking for something. You're looking for God. So I hope that through all these interviews that we do with the Ark of Canada and through this broadcast, that you will come to know how great God is and that you'll be running to the doors of our churches. So I hope to see you there.
Hey everyone, how are you doing? This is a remarkable day. I thank God for this day, what God is doing. So as Ark of God Canada, as a ministry, our mandate is to bring revival. The mission theme is igniting nations and generations for an end-time revival. So we have different activities to touch people, bring them back to God's presence, from a religious concept to a relationship level, a spiritual aspect. That is by connecting people with God. So today we are starting something amazing. We have Cheryl Dunn. Cheryl is an amazing person. She's a business owner. She's a worship leader, musician, talented in various levels. Now with the ministry, traveling to different places, leading worship and serving God. So she will be the host, the anchor for this show. We call it Ark Broadcasting Network. So we will be taking interviews of people who have been touched by this ministry and other ministries and how God changed their life. Share this with others who need hope, who need a change in their life, a decision to be made. And this world needs a lot of light as we go through the darkness. So we welcome you to Ark Broadcasting Network. For more information, you can visit our website, www.aogc.ca, Facebook pages, YouTube channels, and looking forward to hear the feedback and testimonies from each one of you. So I want to congratulate and welcome Cheryl Dunn as she takes this responsibility. It is huge. Keep her in your prayers. She's going to do amazing things for God. Amen. God bless.
Well, hello everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. You are going to be very, very blessed today. A friend of mine, Glenda, I have a lot of friends that have come onto this couch lately, but you pull on your friends and then you start bringing in other people and it kind of gets the ball rolling. But she is part of Ark of Canada. She's on the board. She's a counselor. She does Bible studies. She's an amazing woman of God, and you will not be disappointed. So please stay tuned for what she has today about her healing journey that God has taken her through. Well, Glenda, it's so good that you've come on board today, and I'm so excited to interview you. You're so sweet, and you're so kind, and you're so quiet, and I'm so the opposite side of, I'm more bold and out front, but you do so many things behind the scene for Ark, and, you pray for people, and you counsel people, and, I know you just didn't arrive at that spot in your life. I know that you have been through quite a bit of struggles, and it's never an easy place to go back into your past, but it's the healing hand of God when we go back into our past and kind of see where we've been. And so, kind of want to just talk a little bit about, where you came from and where God has brought you. And so, with no further ado, we'll just jump in. So I know that you had a hard upbringing as a child.
Thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate that. And it is difficult to go back over the hard things.
Yes.
Because I don't think you ever lose the pain of those bad times. However, if you don't remember them, you don't realize how far God has brought you.
Yeah,
right? You don't realize what He's done in your life, and that's what's really important. Is the the difference between then and now. So I give God the glory for what he has done.
Which is
and I'm
good.
really glad I'm at this end of it.
And not in the beginning. But there is a lot of people who are struggling, you know,
Amen.
and, you
Yes.
know, kind of with going through things that their parents have deposited
Amen.
upon them, or, you know, their expectations, and, you know, but I don't want to get on tangent on that, but, you know, we do have to get through this life.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And most of my things all came from my childhood as well.
Right.
And not knowing how to cope with them. And I'm quite sure I am not the only one caught in that. So I meet people every day trying to get over and past their past. And only God can help you do that.
It is true.
Yeah.
So take us back to like when you were a little girl and you had a
Yeah.
sister, you have a sister, and kind of where you were with your mom. And
Yeah, our family life, young parents. My dad was a farm boy, so he could do everything. and he started his own business, so he worked at that for years. But he grew up with just a dad and his brother. His mother was sick with tuberculosis, so she was either, as Dad says, in her bedroom praying or in the sanatorium. And so I give her the credit for me getting saved, because I'm sure she was praying for me. So that was my dad. He worked all the time, and because he had no experience with the relationship with a mother, he basically ignored his wife and his children. So he focused on his work, and that's who he was. And
he focused on himself,
on what he could do and understood. And if you met my mother, you might understand why he kind of set
he
us
kept busy.
Yeah, he stayed out of her way. And so my mom grew up with just a mother. Her father had died, and so it was just her mom and her sister. My mom, being the younger sister of a drop-dead beautiful older sister who was very smart in school and could do everything, Mom always felt like the outsider and was very wounded because of that.
Jealousy, maybe.
And angry. You
Right.
got it.
Yeah.
You got it. She was angry at her mom and her sister. So those are things she carried with her entire life.
Never gave it up.
Never, ever learned to give it up. Boy, did that witness to me. So I could not hang on to my stuff, because I know what it does.
Because that's a sad existence, right? Because you
You
live
got
with that negativity and, you know, all that hurt and all that shame and everything that you carry, and you ruin your life.
That's right. And all the anger that you do not deal with, you end up putting it on someone else.
It is true.
Right? And I became the target in the family. So, my sister, I guess out of desperation or wisdom, I don't know, but she aligned with my mother so that she didn't come under the same kind of treatment and behavior. So I grew up with Dad out of the house and ignoring the whole household, and my mother and sister joined together against me. Oh, boy.
Forces.
Yeah, so it was very traumatic. I was alone a lot of the time, and there were actually two moments in my childhood that really kind of defined what I thought and what I believed. When I was 11 years old, I decided I would go looking for evidence of why my family treated me the way they did. I was the outsider and the one that was hated and blamed, and I couldn't do anything right. And
So you're thinking you're adopted.
well, that's what I believed. It was the only thing that made sense to me. I really don't belong because I'm not part of this natural family, right? So after school one day, when I was the only one in the house,
You went searching.
I did too. I knew exactly where my parents kept all their important papers, so I went looking through the drawer. And lo and behold, what I found was not adoption papers. What I found was my parents' wedding certificate.
Okay.
And what I learned was that they were married less than 9 months before I was born. So I realized at that point, at 11, that I really was an unwanted child.
Right.
I was unplanned for. And I guess that's part of the reason why Mom was angry at me and took things out on me, because if I had not been expected, she wouldn't have had to marry my dad, which I think she regretted all her life. She was sorry she did, but I bore the brunt of those choices, right? So that made sense to me. I mean, I wasn't happy about learning that I wasn't wanted, but at least it made some kind of sense.
Sure.
And I decided that, okay, I am, this unwanted child.
Which is hard. That's a very hard thing, because then you're wounded and there's just so many things attached to that.
That's right. I was already hurt and wounded and persecuted. And because my mother was angry, she was verbally abusive, physically abusive, and over-controlling. Things had to be done her way or else. And if I looked sideways at her, gave her the wrong expression on my face, I got whacked. So it was frightening. It was just scary. It was painful, but it was very frightening.
Extremely
way
abusive.
Grew up, yeah. So all of those things put together made me kind of a mess. What I learned was that life was frightening, life was hurtful, and there is nobody to protect me. I am all alone. So that was the one incident. I kind of lived for that. But I was almost 16 when another incident occurred that I will never forget. I came home from school one day and I found that my teddy bear was missing. Now, I'm almost 16 years old, and the fact that I still had a teddy bear at that point sounds kind of weird, but the fact was that I talked to that teddy bear.
Yeah, it was your
right?
life.
It was the only one in the house I had to talk to. And the fact that it was missing just was traumatic to me. Well, of course, I blame my sister, and because there was Dad wasn't even home. My mother, she wouldn't have done that, and so I knew it was my sister, because my sister was really good at doing nasty things. And so I made such a fuss that both my mother and my sister, I made them wander all the way through the house looking at all the closets, anywhere I thought that it might be hidden. And lo and behold, my sister had stuffed this teddy bear in behind the hot water tank in our furnace room. And so when we pulled it out, I can still see the two of them standing there laughing at me.
Wow.
Making fun of me because, I made such a fuss over a teddy bear. And that was the first time that I really realized, you know what? They are lined up against me. I'm living in a home in which I'm not only the outsider, but I'm the enemy, right?
You're on your own.
I am definitely on my own in this one.
Wow.
And it was at that moment that I did something the counselors will tell you is called branding.
Okay.
I branded myself. Hated, unloved, alone,
Stamped it all
hopeless.
over yourself.
That's,
Stamped it.
Yeah, that was the moment that I believed, all these lies that I've been trying to fight all these years, and now I decided it was true. So within about 2 weeks after that incident, I turned 16, and I can tell you, my life went downhill from there. I got involved with boys, got pregnant.
Destructive.
It was just self-destructive behavior after that. And it started a whole series of really unhealthy relationships, both in and out of marriage. What I didn't realize until much, much later, that I was really looking for that father figure that I didn't have, right? That father who was supposed to protect me.
Right, love you.
Yeah, love me unconditionally and protect me. So I realized much later that that's really what I was looking for in this series of relationships.
You wanted them to fix you and love you.
Exactly, because I didn't know how to fix myself.
Right. Or love.
Right? And I didn't, if you don't love yourself,
right,
you look for somebody else to do it. So that's what started the whole series of problems. And so it wasn't until 1984, so I was 30, just over 30. By then I already had 2 children. They were teenagers, and they were going to church.
Okay.
They were going to church with a young couple that lived across the street from us.
So you sent them, but you didn't go.
Yep. No, I had no interest in going at that point. So the kids started going, and I learned after the fact that every day at church they prayed for me.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it was just awesome. So I stayed in touch with the family that...
somebody does pray us in, Glenda.
Wow.
Somebody does pray us in, always.
Amen.
You know, I keep thinking, I don't know who prayed me in. I don't know who prayed me in,
Amen.
but somebody prayed me in.
Yep. Well, I think it was my grandmother first,
I think
and
so
then my
for
children.
me.
Yeah, and it was actually my children that were responsible for my salvation.
Wow.
I was living in a home that had a gully out in the backyard.
Okay.
And I learned from my kids that over this previous weekend, that there had been a party down in the gully, out of sight of all the parents. And they caused enough trouble that police were called and all the kids got into a lot of trouble. And I said to them, did you kids, how did you avoid that, basically? And they said, well, because we knew that wasn't right.
Wow.
They knew that they shouldn't do it. And this was from their church background. They just knew.
They knew.
And it was at that moment that I realized that even though I wasn't there was somebody looking out for my kids.
Yeah.
It just broke.
That's a power of prayer. That's why I always think, like no matter what, somebody's always watching over us.
Amen.
No matter. I had heard years ago, and I don't even know if this is right, but like when you're born, no matter who you are, God sends you angels.
Amen.
And those angels protect you.
Amen.
Even when we don't deserve it.
Amen. Well, at that point, I sure didn't deserve it, but God was there. He answered the prayer of my children, that's for sure. So I got saved, and I started to church. This was 1984, and I spent 4 or 5 years in the church, got filled with the Spirit, the whole thing. And the unfortunate thing was, in this first church and subsequent ones to which I belonged, there was never anyone that reached out to me and said, you're struggling, with relationships or whatever. Can we help you? Right? Not one person in 3 or 4 different Spirit-filled churches that I belonged to.
Wow.
Right? So over the years, I served in the churches, I worked in them, I taught, I did Sunday school, I did everything, right? But no one came along to help.
Did they know you were struggling?
Well, it was pretty obvious because the relationships didn't change, right? I was still in and out of relationships all through that time period. What I got instead of help was judgment and criticism.
It's everywhere, Glenda.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you don't expect it in the church, right? I didn't. What I really needed was help, right? And it just wasn't available. So we hope to change that.
And that's why we're with the Ark of God.
Amen
right?
to that.
So it changes, when we see people struggling, when we've all been through the struggle, all of us have.
Amen.
You know, that's when you start reaching out. When you see somebody going down, we come alongside and pick them up.
I know to do that now, for sure.
Yes.
For sure. So from 84 until 2007, I was a mess. It just one mistake after another, because I didn't understand, number one, why I was doing it, why I was still looking for somebody to rescue me, and I had no idea how to stop it. No idea at all. So in 2007, at the end of another relationship, I finally decided that I would do something about it. Now, at this point, I didn't trust people. I wasn't going to a male counselor, and I didn't trust women.
No.
Women had not been kind to me for most of this time, and so and to be honest, because of my previous early relationships, I really didn't know how to relate to women very well.
Well, you weren't connected as a young
No,
child.
I had no connection to women at all. So I decided at the end of this last relationship that I would just go to God.
What a unique idea.
What a brainstorm. Well, it was, I didn't know what else to do, right?
Well, there's really nothing else to do.
Well, there wasn't.
Right.
There wasn't. And it turned out to be the right thing to do.
So good.
Because I didn't know how to help myself. I had gone back to school during this time, so it was like a whole change in everything. So during the day, I either was attending classes or doing homework, working on assignments, that kind of thing. So I kept my mind focused on that. At night, I laid on my bed and I bawled. I cried out every hurt, every wound, the loneliness, the pain. I just cried it out. And the Lord met me.
Beautiful.
During that time. He was there. When I didn't know what to do or where to turn, He was there.
I love that.
So I would lie down in the bed at night thinking, okay, I'm going to deal with my anger. I'm going to deal with my hurt. And the next thing I know, God said, no, we're going this direction. Right? And I would end up thinking about something else. So by the end of the next 3 years, it took me 3 years to get through university, came out with my degree, but I came out free.
That's amazing.
God led me through every wound, every hurt, every trauma, every sin, you name it. I was through.
And you were free.
And I was free.
Wow.
God is amazing.
Wow, that's so good.
Yeah, and since then, I have had zero need for any other relationships. Zero. And I see what God is doing now and why. God has a purpose in everything, right? Yes. And when you're going through the trauma, you don't understand, right? And the tendency in some people is to blame God for it, right?
All the time. Instead of blaming the enemy. I hear it over and over.
Yep.
But God. No, but God is the one who saves us. Is Satan the one who gives us all this trouble?
That's right. Yeah, Satan and the world and what he does to people, the lies. Oh my gosh. I think of the lies my parents suffered through, right? And put on me. And my sister is still fighting her battle too. So, but it's God who's the answer.
So did your mom ever ask for forgiveness, or did she even understand, or?
My mother never ever came to the place of accepting her responsibility for that. However, what happened was when I got healed, the Lord gave me the opportunity, because my mom was physically sick and in a nursing home.
Okay.
And my sister lived too far away to visit. So I became the primary caregiver for my mother. And had I not been healed, things might have turned out a little differently. God is merciful. So I would drive down to the nursing home every Friday for 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
And take her out. So I'd take her out shopping, and we'd go for lunch and drive around, do whatever she wanted to do, and take her back home. Well, my mother started out being nasty and mean and the whole thing, and I just ignored her.
Wow. That's huge.
Because it didn't bother me anymore.
No.
Now, she became quite rude in front of someone else long into this journey, and she knew I was not happy about it. And you know what? She didn't say anything, I didn't say anything, but she phoned me and actually apologized for her behavior.
Wow. So she knew.
She knew.
She knew.
Yeah.
And she has now since passed.
Yes, she has. But the interesting thing about this, because she favored my sister, in her will, she had specified that my sister would get 2/3 of her estate, and I would get 1/3.
Oh, wow.
That's the way Mom had written it in the will. Well, by the end of this entire thing, she actually took my sister and her husband and myself and brought us together and said specifically, no, I've changed my mind. I know that's what the will says, but when the time comes, I want both of my girls
50%.
to get 50%. That's right.
Wow.
So Mom knew what she'd done, and I think in her own way, she knew she was wrong, and she regretted it, because I did nothing but show her peace and love and joy, because that's where I was at that point. God had already done the work in me. So it witnessed to her, and she was able to change.
Did she ever give her life to God?
Not that I am aware of.
Okay.
I am not. My father, however, was in the nursing home, and they phoned me when they knew he was passing away, and I went in, and they said, you're going to find him really agitated. He was just fidgety, like he just couldn't stay still. He was just really upset and anxious and the whole thing. So, I didn't know what to do, and he had Alzheimer's badly at that point. So I just went in and I sat down on the bed, and I took his hands in mine, and I started to pray in tongues, because I knew he wasn't listening to anything. So, and as I prayed for a little while, I watched him just calm down, quiet down, and I can't tell you how shocked I was, because I just didn't get it. I didn't understand how this man who didn't know the Lord would respond like that to the Spirit of God.
It's likely the peace that was in you.
Well, for one thing, yes, but it was just kind of confusing to me that it happened that way. And I watched him quiet down until he passed away, just as peacefully as anything.
Wow.
And it wasn't until 3 or 4 months later that I found out that Rosa's sister, Linda, who worked in the nursing home where my dad was, had led him to the Lord a couple of months before he died.
Wow. So maybe he just needed you there.
Yeah.
Right? He needed you there to know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure he looked at your past as a young girl and thought, what? And like, why didn't he help? But then he would have had the wrath of his wife.
That's exactly why he didn't
afraid,
step in.
right? Afraid of the woman.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
So my need for this father figure, right, stemmed from the fact that you know, Dad was basically afraid of my mother. He wasn't going to join a fight with her, and so I was looking for someone who would stand up for me.
Yeah, protect you.
Protect me from...
But you found the best protector.
Yeah,
God.
I sure did. The Lord's a lot better than...
Yes, than any human.
Amen to that.
So
Amen to
great.
that. So, you know, at the end of this, you know, I came out with a degree in Christian counseling.
Wow.
And I came out with some wisdom and skills on how to help not only myself stay healthy, but to help other people come through their traumas.
Yeah, that's huge.
So God started to send people to me. It's the funniest thing. I learned that through all this journey, that what I was dealing with was called codependency. And so you get two unhealthy people, usually a giver and a taker.
And then they marry.
And they marry, and then they make more unhealthy people in their kids.
You got two messed up people coming with a big messed up
That's
life.
exactly what happens. But even if you don't mess up your children, you stay unhealthy yourself, because you're just feeding each other in that kind of relationship. So God started sending other codependent people to me.
Wow.
And letting me teach them what codependency is and how to deal with it, how to get through it, how to get past it.
How to get past it.
And fortunately they were all Christians. So we all could turn to the Lord and turn to what is right and true instead of all the lies of the enemy.
I find, you know, we quickly touched on it before we started to air, and how do people do it without the Lord? I do not know. Like, you know, I do not know, because it's constant of alcoholism.
Yeah.
Like, you know, going through eating disorders, exercising. People get so involved in so many things, you know. So, oh my goodness.
Yeah. What they do is move from one addiction to another.
It is so true.
That's exactly it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, Glenda,
So,
where are you going now? Like, I know Ark of Canada has like got you busy doing so many things behind the scenes.
yeah, I'm very happy and privileged to be an associate pastor there, and being
On the board.
Yeah, on the board. And
Writing all the checks.
Yeah, treasurer.
You got a lot going on.
Busy, but totally fulfilled. And I feel like I have an opportunity to connect with people, right? So the Lord is sending me or connecting me with people who need help to get through their issues. So even before I started with Ark of God, I started with people around me. It's funny that because I had no connection with women, right? The women, I started a women's group, some Bible study, and a church in my house with mostly women. And I thought, and now I have no need for that male relationship other than my church friends, right? And I have a lot of women friends to whom I have strong commitments.
Wow.
And I know how to relate to them now.
It's good.
I know where they're hurting.
I think that if you do not go through something in life, like, you know, if you've not walked through abuse or if you've not walked through sickness, you definitely cannot minister to somebody. So, you know, I have one question for you. Do you still have your teddy bear?
No.
Really?
No. No, and I miss that in the testimony, because when seeing my mother and my sister making fun of me for having the teddy bear, you see, I destroyed the teddy bear, the only one, or the only thing I had that listened to me, and it was downhill from there. Because now I had nobody,
Then you had
right?
nobody.
Yeah, but now I don't need a teddy bear.
No, you definitely have the Lord. You don't need the teddy bear.
I have someone who loves me a lot more than the teddy bear did. So
I had a doll, and I still have that doll. Like,
Amen.
Almost like 60, I'll be 60 this year, and I still have that doll, and I guess I was to be a hairdresser because I cut the doll's hair right off short, and, because it was always the hair grows faster, right? That's crazy talk, but,
funny. Yeah.
But, God has done a great work in your life.
Well, now, and I've asked, because the women in my little church group are older and some of them have gone to nursing homes and the whole thing, so we're kind of phasing that house meetings out.
Sure.
But I asked Pastor Stanley if we could bring that counseling into the church. So he and I are working on plans to actually start doing some free or low-cost counseling through Ark of God Canada to whomever wants it. And because I've seen God work miracles in other codependent people, but I watched him, I have a young friend who had extreme OCD behavior, like really difficult, to the point of facial tics and slurred speech.
Wow.
And I had an 84-year-old woman who came to me and wants to deal with childhood sexual abuse at 80-some years old. I'm telling you, there are people out there who are desperately hurting still and have nowhere else to go, right? They don't want to go to secular counselors, the Christians, but they don't know how to do it on their own.
Well, I don't think you can.
No.
I really don't. We've all had our moments of, going through so many difficulties, and I know even myself, I've gone for some counseling, and, I kind of thought I was okay, and then you go into counseling, it was like, well, really, you're not, and so, but you think if you walk on it hard enough that, it will go down, but that's the thing, it makes you hard.
That's right.
It suppresses you, and it makes you sick, and, all the above, so, well, it's been an honor. And it's been a great privilege to have you here today, and I'm so blessed to have gotten to know you over the last couple years, and you're so quiet and sweet, like I said in the beginning, and I'm always on a mission, so it's nice to sit down and talk and just see what God has done in your life. Well, today you have heard from Glenda about how she's gone through such an abuse in her life as a child and looking for that love all the way through life, and could never find it, because you can never find that love in somebody else.
That's right.
You always have to go to God. So today, if you are one of these people who have gone through abuse and you're searching, or you're eating, or you're drinking, or you're doing drugs, you know what? Reach out to us. We would love to get you in touch with Glenda, in touch with Ark of Canada, in touch with our revival meetings to come pray. This is why we're doing these testimonies. This is it. This is it's for no other reason to reach out to people, and that people see that we're just regular humans going through life in general. So please reach out to us today. Please, we're asking you that you'll reach out. I hope you have a great day. God bless.
Amen.